the chair. And Gail is going to give us her presentation.
Hopefully I can work the lights correctly and nobody gets a load of you.
Pink, isn't it supposed to be pink? Yeah, it's pink.
Now we get the frosting on the cake.
Oh.
Yeah. No, that might be a little much.
Yeah, look at
Well,
Can I go to the?
Can you leave the outside ones on and put the fluorescents off?
Floor off?
Is that a choice?
Whoa, how about that?
Here it is.
Let's try to see it. Now, apparently, this is my
That's
skill.
it. One or
My skill is not technology.
Okay, that's fine.
Look at that, you locked us in.
That's right.
Being in the and give you a light demonstration.
All right, everyone. Well, thank you for being here this evening, and it's an honor to meet with my peers. And you know, sometimes it's like talking to the choir. Is that what you say?
Preaching to the choir, preaching to the.
Yeah. Well, so hopefully you'll learn something new tonight. This was actually a combination of presentations that I've done, and we put them kind of together and talk about not just leading change, but leading sustainable change. So I had some computer issues because I have to make a presentation tomorrow, and it was this afternoon at the last minute, so I forgot to make a copy for myself. So I'm going to have to turn and look at what the slides are, so I apologize for that. But yeah, I am now with the University of New Mexico, as somebody said. You've moved around a lot, Gail, and that I have been in the not-for-profit sector, the for-profit sector, the government sector, and now healthcare sector. So that should tell you a little how old I am, be able to talk about all four sectors. But when I moved into healthcare, part of the reason that they brought me over, well, it was twofold, really. Okay, the first was that UNM, which has been around, you know, forever, they have, you know, many different entities. They have the University Hospital, which everyone's familiar with. They have the Regional Medical Center, right out in Rio Rancho now. They have the medical group, which serves with all of the professionals, the primarily physicians. And they have the UNM Cancer Center, a beautiful building if you haven't seen that. And so in 2012, they decided they wanted to become a system. So they officially said that they were now going to be a health system, but nobody built the infrastructure for a health system. And so part of why they brought me in was to help build the systems to integrate some of their processes across the organization. The other reason was that with my experience at the National Nuclear Security Administration, where Karen works, we, you know, at that location, and we talk about zero defects, zero errors, and redundant systems, so nothing is ever allowed to fail. We talk about personal accountability. There is no room for anything to go wrong at any time. So the systems and the processes and the procedures that everybody looks at and knows about, I mean, they're tight. And they're tight with regulatory bodies, they're tight with the people that practice them, the owners of them. Tried, tested, and true, you know, that there is no room for error. So they in the hospital setting, as if you're from Presbyterian, you know that we're all in the healthcare working towards less errors. And in some cases, there are a few hospitals in the country that have achieved zero patient harm under certain categories, maybe not all categories. So part of my learning curve over there was to go from a culture where there was no error to a culture of tremendous variability. Just enormous, frightening variability. It really, I mean, I really, it was very hard for me. I've been there about a year and a half now, and to try to absorb the complexities in health care, just period. And then on top of it, a system that had evolved over, you know, when did UNM start? Like over 100 years ago, right? Like this lengthy mechanism that they have in place for working in silos. They have their research, they have their academic, they have the health component, they have the hospital, which has been serving New Mexicans, only trauma center. I mean, you know, it's just a phenomenal group of activities, but it was non-related. So that was a huge learning curve. Kind of like that, looked like that. And I think that curve is indicative of a lot of change that we've seen in our lifetimes. Think about change over time, right? From when we were kids, into college, got into the workforce, and then what happened, right? Change, adapt, flexible, right? We've all had to learn to change. And quality people know this probably better than anybody else about how to change and why we have to change. But it definitely takes a skill set. So tonight we're going to first talk about the skills and attributes it takes to lead change. And then secondly, we're going to look at what we have to do to maintain those changes, to make it sustainable, to hardwire it into a system so that 3 months from now, 6 months from now, a year from now, things just don't fall apart, which we can probably all say we've seen, right? And unfortunately, a lot of people work really hard to improve things and then it's not maintained, and that's just really heartbreaking. So those of us in the quality world, we have to help them build it in so it's maintained over time. Okay, have you heard about Simon Sinek's Golden Circle? I actually, in my whole career, hadn't heard about him until like a few months ago, and it was like, how did I miss this? But he talks about the reverse of how people think. And, you know, he says that we all know, this has a pointer on it, huh? Yeah.
Just, it's gonna be real hard with this room with being as well as it is.
Oh, I think the battery.
No, I think brand new batteries.
Am I aiming?
It's too weak.
It's a safe laser.
Yeah, you have to point with your hand.
Okay, so most people know what they do as an organization, or if they're making a project that they're trying to change or improve something, most people know what it's all about. And some of us, probably most of us in the room would know why, I mean, how we're doing it, right? We have to process down, plan, do, check, act, whatever process we adopt, right? But the why is what Simon talks about as being the most important piece of that. And the reason is because when people don't believe in what you're doing and they don't have their heart in it, that's definitely going to be kicking the pants for sustainability, right? So he talks about that really spending time on the why, the purpose, the mission, the vision. Why are we making this change? Why? We have so much to do. Why do we have to do this, right? Why do we have to change what we've just figured finally last year we got in place, right? Why, right? And the thing is, you know, you think about it, when you talk about change, the first thing is, okay, we know the only constant is change nowadays in this competitive world that we live in. And so even in Dilbert, you know, if we are about to succeed, we must become change masters. Change masters in an ever-changing, ever-adaptive environment. So in healthcare, this article just came out, and look at the search for top talent. You know, what was most in demand? Change management. Do we have the skills to lead change? And at any level. I mean, this doesn't mean you have to be the CEO. At any level of an organization, if we know how to lead change, we are more valuable to that organization. So it's something that anyone that's in management ought to spend some time thinking about.